Here you are tirelessly applying for jobs online, only for you to get hit with a rejection after rejection. You barely have to open the email. Just one glance at the first sentence of it saying unfortunately says it all. And in some cases, you don't even get that. You just get ghosted. And those days of applying start turning into weeks and then months. And then you just start to feel frustrated, hopeless, and just stuck. Just wondering if you'll ever get your foot through the door. And when you open up about your struggles, all you get is one-sided advice from people who just don't get it, especially the older generation. And then they have the audacity to tell you that you're not quote-unquote working hard enough, and you need to just get a job. Because back in their day, they used to physically hand in their CV and they had to quote-unquote work hard for it. And of course, I'm not going to discredit their struggles, but we're in different times now with different challenges. And meanwhile, on LinkedIn, all you see are other people's success stories. But we really have to question on what is actually happening behind the scenes. And this is exactly what this video is about. And everything that I've mentioned so far has been from my own personal experience with job hunting. But with this video, I want to explore this topic on a much broader level. And at some point in the near future, I want to make a video on how I personally landed my job and how you can too, especially if it's your first, as I do feel like I've figured some things out. But in the meantime, let's talk about the reality of the struggle, because every time you send through an application for submission and every interview you prepare for, only for you to get rejected and ghosted, it can feel dehumanizing and almost like a personal attack. And it's harder to maintain hope, and you begin to wonder if it's even worth trying, because that period when you're in long-term unemployment is brutal. It can even cause some people to lose their sense of identity, since society have this way of tying a person's value on their career or how quote-unquote productive they are. And so by that definition, when you're unable to get a job and start working, you may feel like you're falling behind in life. And to make matters worse, the job market itself feels like a difficult game designed to be unwinnable, since many companies post job listings that they never intend to fill, using them for data collection or gauging an interest in a particular market. And this leaves job seekers stuck in an endless cycle of applying, with little to no real opportunities. Then there's the entry-level scam, at least that's what I like to call it, where these jobs, which are specifically designed for beginners, now have a minimum requirement of 3 to 5 years of experience, making this impossible for, say, a new graduate to actually start working. And this is all happening now because the number of job seekers far exceed the amount of jobs available. And this allows them to fill roles with the lower training costs, while still offering lower salaries, making it that much harder for a true entry-level applicant or a fresh graduate out of college or university to get hired, which may leave certain individuals stuck in this cycle of trying to get experience but can't because they don't have any experience in the first place. And for years, young students have been told that getting a degree will guarantee success and a stable, high-paying job. But in today's world, that's not necessarily the case. And it's because employers care more about your skills, experiences, and what you as an individual can bring to the company for their benefit, more than a piece of paper which kind of indicates and signals that you're sort of smart. Yet it's interesting to see that the education system pushes this outdated curricula when it doesn't really match the needs of the workforce we see today. Meanwhile, we've got universities profiting off of this illusion, if you will, where students are taking mountains of debt for degrees which in many cases don't really give them much of a competitive advantage in the job market. And it leads to this sort of situation where graduates find themselves overqualified, underemployed, and struggling to secure a job role where they can justify the amount of time, energy, and money they've invested in their education. And this is where the advice of networking comes into play. You know, the whole, it's not what you know, but who you know. But I just want to ask if that's really true. Well, sort of. There's a statistic that you yourself can look up online, where over half of job listings aren't publicly posted. Instead, they're filled through internal referrals, word of mouth, and direct connections. Basically, this means that if your job hunting strategies only revolves around you submitting applications online, you may most likely be missing out on the majority of opportunities. And a lot of these job opportunities are getting taken over and completely replaced via globalization, automation, and artificial intelligence, which is redefining what it means for an individual to have job security. Because we are right now in the middle of an economic transformation, which many have called it as the Great Displacement. Even the hiring process itself has already changed, where your resume is most likely being screened by AI before a human ever sees it. For instance, if you don't have the right keywords, you're filtered out the process before you can even say anything. And many people hold on to this hope that the job market will quote-unquote fix itself, because it should, right? Well, Not really, because the market isn't really there to accommodate us as individuals and secure jobs. It's there to cut costs and maximize efficiency. And this creates even more of a competitive environment where even highly skilled workers may struggle to find good opportunities. Because even the well-known careers like law, finance, and medicine are seeing automation creep in, making it clear that no industry is truly safe. Now, if you're sat there struggling to find a job, just realize that you're not the only one, even though it may feel like that. And I just want to reassure you that the challenges that you're facing right now aren't necessarily a reflection of your skills, work ethic, or your intelligence. Instead, it's the result of the job market evolving right in front of our very eyes, where the rules in the past no longer apply. But that doesn't mean that there's no hope for you to secure a job. It just means that we have to be a little bit patient and play the game a little bit differently. And at some point, I will personally make a video on how I secured a job in my own life, and how this could potentially help you in yours. I appreciate you watching the video, and if you're still interested, you can check out one of the videos that are popping up on screen right now.